Hi everyone. So today I want to talk about antidepressants. So one of the questions I always get asked by clients or other people is what I think about medications, specifically about antidepressants. Now, in my practice, I mostly work with clients who are suffering from depression and anxiety. So some of them are already taking medications or have asked me about, what I think about medications. So what do I think about them? Well, it really depends. When I meet with a client for a first time, I try to make sure I do a thorough assessment of their symptoms to determine if they would benefit from medication. And I continue to assess their symptoms as I work with them. In my opinion, medications are not for everyone. It depends on the severity of their symptoms and most of all, how their symptoms are negatively impacting their daily functioning. So that includes, whether they function well in school, how they function at work, at home, or in a social setting. So a few months ago, I read an article on Vox.com by Johan Hari. I hope I pronounced that correctly. He's the author of the book called Lost Connections. I'm just reading this. Lost Connections, Uncovering the Real Causes of Depression and the Unexpected Solutions. In the article and in his book, he talked about how when he was younger, a doctor told him that depression is caused by a lack of a brain chemical called serotonin, and that by simply taking drugs, serotonin levels in the brain will go back to a normal level and that he will feel better. Now as a therapist, I will say that I don't discount the validity of that statement, that depression is caused by a chemical imbalance and that by taking a pill that it will help. We know from research that maybe around 50% of depressed individuals, specifically those who are taking medications, actually experience an initial positive response to antidepressants. And of all those depressed individuals taking antidepressants, only a small group, around between 5 to 20%, will experience complete remission. So, antidepressants is part of the story, but it's not the whole story. It doesn't tell the whole story. It's a little bit more complex. There's a broad agreement among scientists and researchers that there are three causes of depression and anxiety. There's the biological, there's psychological, so that your thoughts, how you think of yourself, and social. And by the way, speaking of social, in fact, in I think it was 2011, the World Health Organization said that mental health is produced socially. All right, so the presence or absence of mental health is above all a social indicator and therefore requires social as well as individual solutions. Also, according to Johan Hari, the author I was talking to you about earlier, there are 9 causes of depression and anxiety of which there is scientific evidence. 7 of them, according to him, are forms of disconnection. So disconnection from other people, from meaningful work, from meaningful values, from the natural world, from a safe and secure childhood, from status, and from a future that makes sense. And the other 2 causes are biological. So there's genes and real brain changes, according to the author. Now, so aside from assessing if a client can benefit from medication, I also assess and explore other factors, such as, if a client is experiencing or dealing with some form of stressor in their life, such as, whether they're working in a very toxic work environment, feeling lonely, maybe lack of employment, are they in an unhealthy relationship, lack of friends, are they going through some family issues, etc. And how does a client view himself or herself? For clients with depression, they have issues with self-esteem. They have a negative view and a negative outlook of themselves and of the world around them. So for this, I use what we call a CBT approach, or cognitive behavioral therapy. So I work with clients on exploring their negative thoughts, what triggered them, and then I help them identify, evidence to support their thought, evidence to not support their thought, so that's something that goes against their current thought. And then the goal is that we work together in exploring an alternative, maybe more positive thought, because the hope is that by having a more positive thought, that it will better their mood, which then will better the way they function. All right. I also work with them in identifying ways to improve their mood, like engaging in what we call pleasurable activities, like, taking a walk in the park, taking a shower, listening to music, having lunch or dinner with friends, and many other things like that. Even as simple as, like I said earlier, as simple as taking a shower. Depression can be such a vicious cycle of negative thoughts leading to a lack of motivation that leads to lack of doing anything. So if someone can figure out a way or do something to break that cycle, it'll be very helpful. Right? So that could include doing one pleasurable activity. Now it's also important to remember that and also to make sure that clients need to make sure they set realistic and specific goals that they can do at their pace, because it can actually be very overwhelming for clients to have so many plans and goals, good things, but that if they are not able to be successful in doing those things that they want to do, they may think of themselves as a failure and actually make them feel worse. So it's good to have specific, measurable goals. And I remember one client of mine who told me that he's doing meditation to help himself feel better. So he started by doing just 3 minutes a day using an app. There's a few apps out there for meditation, so I highly suggest that if you're thinking about meditation, that's something to consider. And then he increased it to 5 minutes, and increased it to 10 and 15. And then he's been very consistent about it for almost a month now, and he actually feels better. His view of himself and society and the community is very much different. And then he knows that when he starts to feel anxious or depressed, he knows what to do, and meditation is really one way that's been very helpful for him. So look, in summary, I think that antidepressants can help. It definitely can help, but it should not be the only intervention to use for addressing and managing depression and anxiety. It should only be one component. It shouldn't be the entire solution or intervention to use for depression and anxiety. So anyway, I hope you found this video and the information I shared very helpful. Very helpful. If you have any other questions or have any ideas and suggestions for future videos, please feel free to leave a comment or email me. My email is down here, lloyd@lloydfider.com. Thanks everyone for watching, and I wish you all a happy mental health day. Bye for now.